Hi, my gems. Welcome back to the Growing Gardenias podcast. This is your safe and affirming space for us to heal together, grow together, and normalize the hard mental health things we don't like to talk about. I'm your host, Niara. Thank you for tuning in with me and joining me on this journey. Hi, my loves. Thank you so much for being here with me once again. Happy Sunday. I hope you all had an amazing week filled with rest and relaxation. Today, I want to talk about utilizing your community for healing, specifically your friendships. Before I get into it, if you are tuning in and you enjoy this podcast, please take a couple of seconds to leave me a review. It would be greatly appreciated. So, with that being said, let's get into it. What is community healing? I saw a quote that said, healing happens in community, not in isolation. And my definition of community healing is spaces where people are intentionally taking care of one another in various ways. So I started thinking about that quote because as of recently, a large part of my healing journey has been with community. And fortunately, I have not had to go through the motions alone. I feel like isolation is the norm. We feel like we have to handle everything ourselves and heal ourselves and be strong by ourselves, but that's not true. There is so much power in healing within a community. Now, personally, I have always felt like I had to do it alone, but this year has been transformative in the sense of realizations. I've learned not only how beneficial community is when you're healing, but also how necessary it is. And I've made it a point to lean into my community and allow others to hold space for me, right? And my community is my safe space. The beauty in community is that your community is whomever you choose. It could be your family, it could be your friends, it could be just people that you resonate with. You get to decide what that looks like for you. For me, it looks like my friendships. And when I say finding home in your friendships, this means being able to be at peace. Home is where you are loved wholly and unconditionally without judgment, restrictions, expectations, etc. And you need that. So, how has community healing impacted my healing journey, and how have I found a home in my friendships? So, I'm not even sure that my friends know how helpful they have been in my healing journey. Just being around them, I have a safe space where I can show up as my most authentic self. I never have to worry about how I'm going to look or how I'm going to sound. Like, none of that matters. I feel seen, I feel validated, I feel loved, and that love I feel is unmatched. I think this year God taught me I really can't do it alone, nor do I want to. And if you know me, you know how true this used to be. I used to be one of those people who felt like you can't depend on anyone except yourself because that was my experience. That's what I was taught, and I've always had to handle everything on my own. So I've always chose to handle everything on my own because I don't want to have to depend on someone else. So I know firsthand that it's difficult to allow others in. I get that. I want to acknowledge that first and foremost. This is also coming from someone who has grown up in survival mode and who has been hyper independent for her entire life. It's hard to rely on people when you've only had yourself to rely on. I know. I get that. I get it 100%. At some point, however, you have to let your people in. Like you have to let someone in. And part of healing for me has been as simple as being given the space to speak freely, to cry freely, to be angry freely, to be disappointed freely, to just emote freely. These spaces have been supportive, judgment, and shame free. I've never felt like, oh, like, why did I share that? I wish I didn't say anything. Like, I'm cringing. I've never felt that way. I've always felt better after the fact. Like, maybe there isn't a solution, or maybe things are not going to get better right away, but I felt better releasing the emotions that I was keeping inside. And it has made my healing process easier because I know that I'm not alone, and I know that I have people that I can rely on, and I know that I have people that can support me. And in speaking freely to my people, to my community, I've also learned a lot about myself. I'm still learning a lot about myself, and that's very healing for me. And I always say I always say I know true love exists because of how my friends and I love on each other. And I'm smiling. If you're watching this video, you can see that I'm smiling because when I think about the circle of friends that I've made, like they're my family at this point. And it just makes me so happy to know the way that we love each other and the way that we support each other and the space that we hold for each other. It's beautiful. And it's something that I've needed and that I'm sure in some ways that they need too. Just 2022 was a lot for me. There was a lot of pain. There was a lot of hard truths that I had to face that I didn't want to face. I didn't want to do it alone. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. I would not be where I am today if I did not have community, in all honesty. I would not be where I am if I did not have the space to feel unfiltered, raw emotion. Fortunately, I had people who reminded me that it's okay to not be okay and we're here for you. And I really had to get out of the mindset that I had to do everything on my own because I didn't and I don't. That mindset was me still living in my trauma. And part of letting that go was telling myself that I deserve support, I deserve love, I deserve space, I deserve gentleness, and you deserve it too. If someone hasn't told you that, I'll tell you. You deserve support. You deserve love. You deserve space. You deserve gentleness. When you have people in your life willing to provide that space for you, let them. And that doesn't mean your healing is dependent on them or you rely only on them. No, but it means you know you have additional support if and when you need it. Accept it. Now, what should community healing and finding home in your friendships look and feel like? Firstly, think about what home means for you. How do you define feeling at home with someone? So for me, it's having a peace of mind, comfort, unconditional love, no judgment, no shame, support, honesty, even when I don't want to hear it. You define what that looks like for you based on your needs. I knew that I was used to handling everything on my own and not asking for or accepting help. So my need was external support. I had to ask for support. I had to ask for help. And I had to allow myself to receive the help, receive the support. So think about what your needs are, and that'll help you determine what your community healing will look like specifically. Your community healing could be, it doesn't have to be friends, it doesn't have to be family. Literally, you decide. You get to choose. It's your healing journey. You do what works for you. Now, generally, it should look and feel like a safe space. Safe spaces look different for different people. Like I said earlier, a safe space for me is one where I'm able to cry freely, to emote freely, to be angry freely, to be disappointed freely. I can feel my feelings freely. I can show up authentically. I don't always have to be at 100 because you're not always going to be at 100. You should be able to show up authentically. You should be able to express the good, the bad, the ugly. You should feel at ease. You should be able to share whatever is on your heart and your mind. I want to stress that seeking community and finding a home within your friendships does not mean that your healing becomes their responsibility. That's not what I'm saying. Your healing is always your responsibility. What it means is everyone is going through their own journeys, and we have to be respectful of that as well. So also check in, make sure they have the capacity to support you. My friends and I do that a lot. Do you have the capacity to listen or support me right now? If they do, great. If they don't, that's okay. Maybe they need the support. I want to add that community healing and finding home in your friendships also means that you are doing the same for them. You are reciprocating. It's not one-sided where you're just taking, you're also giving that same safe space, that same room to emote and to feel everything, to talk, to cry, whatever they need. You're also doing that. And again, that doesn't mean that there are some things you can't work on alone. You can. I'm not saying that your healing automatically becomes the responsibility of your community. Absolutely not. Because, of course, there are things that you have to work on alone. Yes. But It means that you have extra support and that you're utilizing it without shaming yourself for needing the support. We're not shaming ourselves for needing support. So to those of you who feel like you have to heal in isolation, you don't. I promise you that you don't. And I know it's much easier said than done, especially if maybe you've grown up thinking a certain way, like, oh, it's just me. I only have me. I have to take care of myself. I get it. I really, really get it. Trust me. But I promise you that you do not have to heal in isolation. You don't. Are there moments where you will want to isolate because you need to handle some things on your own? Absolutely, yes. Yes. But that's not all the time. And it's okay that it's not all the time. No one expects you to be in isolation all the time. Sometimes it's easier to go through things when you have people with you. And that doesn't mean that these people are your therapists or anything like that, but it just means that they're present with you. You know that you have people that you can lean back on. You don't always have to be strong. You don't always have to put on a brave face. You don't always have to be tough. You know, you have these people here with you. Allow them to support you. Don't push them away. I used to do that a lot. Whenever I noticed that people were being supportive or being there for me, it's not something that I was used to, and I would push them away. Don't push them away. There's a difference between wanting to be in solitude versus choosing isolation because you feel like that's your only choice. It's not your only choice. You have people to support you. You have people to love on you. You have people to be there for you, to hold that space for you. Let people support you. And so the way to utilize community healing, first and foremost, let go of your need to want to handle everything by yourself. You no longer have to live in survival mode. You are not alone. You are not alone. Allow people to take things off of your plate. Allow people to be that support for you. Be open and vulnerable about what it is that you need. And sometimes you may not know what you need in the moment until it happens. Like, for example, when I had to move back home because of everything that happened, and my friend came down to help me move everything, I had a conversation until like 5 in the morning. And I didn't know I needed that in that moment. Until after, I was like, wow, that was like so healing for me. Thank you so much for holding that space for me. I didn't know I needed that. So sometimes you're not always going to know what you need in the moment, but you can figure that out as you go along. Be selective in choosing your community as well. It's not everyone in your life who can hold that space for you, and that's okay. It's not everyone that you'll be able to go to. That's fine. Be selective in choosing your community and make sure that these are people that you can go to and that you can confide in and that you feel safe around. Okay? Don't feel like you're weak or you're incapable of handling things just because you need support. We're humans. We are human. Connection and community are big parts of human nature. That's normal. That's natural. That's human nature. It makes sense that you need community. Don't run from that. Don't run from it. Continue to extend yourself grace. Healing is hard and it's ongoing and it's not linear. It's hard, it's ongoing, and it's not linear. Whenever you think you've healed from something, something else comes up. Something else triggers you. You have something else to work on. That's how it goes. That's how life is. We're all kind of going through the same things. And at different points of your journey, you'll need different things from different people. And you'll need different people. That is normal. Be gentle with yourself. Be kind with yourself. Allow others to be gentle with you. Allow others to be kind with you. Embrace community. Vent. Cry. Laugh. Feel all of your feelings. And know that there is nothing wrong with needing support. Nothing. And now, how can you be community for someone else? Same thing. Provide a safe, judgment-free space. Listen to them. Support them in whatever they may need. Support them in whatever way they may need. It could just be a listening ear, it could be offering solutions. Show up for them how you would want someone to show up for you. Remind them that they aren't alone. Now, if you have friends who are overly independent, sometimes you just have to strong arm them. Like, I don't care what you say, I'm here. I don't care if you say you don't need me, I'm here. I don't care if you don't want support, I'm here. Normalize the things that they're experiencing for them. It's hard. It's hard to admit that you're not in a good space. It's hard to admit that you're in a bad place mentally. It's hard to admit that you're struggling. It's not easy. So normalize these feelings for them. And remember also, you are not a replacement for professional help. Yes, you can be a part of someone's community. They can be a part of yours. You all can help each other. You all can heal together. You all can have these difficult conversations, but you are not a replacement for professional help. Yes, be a safe space for them, but also help them identify resources for professional help. You are not their therapist. They are not your therapist. Be mindful. Lastly, take care of yourself. Y'all know I love to say you cannot pour from an empty cup. You can't support someone if your cup is empty. You can't support someone if you cannot support yourself. You cannot support someone if you haven't even supported yourself. It just doesn't work that way. In order to have the capacity to support someone else, you have to make sure you are having that capacity for yourself as well. So take care of yourself spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally. Make sure that you're giving yourself the same space as well so you can do it for someone else. Okay? And you as well, the way to be community for someone else, you also embrace community. Embrace it. It's a beautiful thing. Okay? So that is all I have for you all today. Thank you so much for tuning in with me. I'm sending you all so much love and light on your journeys. Just a gentle reminder again, if you enjoyed this episode, please, please, please take a few seconds to leave me a rate and review. I'd really appreciate it. Also, share this episode and this podcast with anyone you think would enjoy it. Follow Growing Gardenias on all platforms to keep up with the latest content. I love you all, and I'll talk to you next week.